The family of a mother shot and killed by her Navy recruiter husband sharing their story for the first time. Good evening, I'm Gina Gaston.
And I'm Eric Barajas. Takara Hightower's family talking only to ABC 13 as they are now suing the U.S. government, saying the Navy did not do enough to protect Takara.
Takara's husband, Gregory, shot and killed her while she was holding their baby in 2022. He also shot one of the Navy investigators who was interviewing Takara over a domestic violence complaint against Gregory. While the family sat down only with our Maya Shea, who is live now in our studio. And Maya, walk us through this family's decision to pursue a lawsuit here.
It was a hard and long decision, but one they finally chose to make. In September of 2022, Takara Hightower was literally in her own home speaking with a naval investigator when her husband barged in, shot, and killed her. Tonight, the grandmother raising the kids and Takara's sister are both speaking out for the first time.
I try to stay focused, mainly on the kids because that keeps me going.
Takara Glenn fights back tears as she talks about the day her daughter Takara Hightower was killed while holding her 1-year-old baby in her arms.
I want answers. I want justice for my child.
The Glenn family says in July of 2022, Takara, a mother of 6, contacted local police about being abused by her husband, Navy recruiter Gregory Hightower. No charges were ever filed. Then, a week before her death, she filed an abuse complaint with the Navy, which led to an investigation that was ongoing up to the moment her husband barged into their house and opened fire. Laura Higginbotham is the family's attorney.
So they failed to remove the guns. They failed to provide protection to her. And even while she had officers with her, he was allowed to access the home with his guns and came in and shot her.
Higginbotham says the family decided to file a federal lawsuit against the Navy precisely because they felt like the Navy could have protected Takara and failed.
Other families like Takara's family need help when they're seeking help from the Navy or the Army or any military agency. We need to hold them accountable.
Gregory was killed by local law enforcement in a standoff hours after he killed his wife. Now, Chanitha is raising her 5 younger grandchildren at home while Takara's sister tries to help out any way she can.
It won't bring her back. It won't bring her back. But I want to bring awareness to anybody that's dealing with something like this.
Yeah, we have reached out to the Navy's Public Affairs Office, and Gina, Eric, we're still waiting for a response. But the family really wanted to get their story out to say, hey, look, no matter what position you are in life, you should be able to get the help that you need so domestic violence doesn't happen to other families.
On the morning of September 22nd, 2022, the quiet of a suburban neighborhood in Humble, Texas, was shattered by a frantic 911 call reporting gunfire inside a family home. When deputies forced their way through the front door, they discovered a scene of unimaginable devastation. 34-year-old Takara Glenn Hightower had been fatally shot. And nearby lay her husband, Gregory Hightower, dead from what investigators later determined was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. In an instant, a home that had once echoed with ordinary family life became the center of a tragedy that would leave children without parents and loved ones searching for answers. As detectives began piecing together the final hours inside that house, one haunting question lingered above every piece of evidence. How has a marriage ended in such irreversible violence? Before her name became associated with tragedy, Takara Glenn Hightower was known first as a devoted mother, daughter, and loved one whose world revolved around her family. Those who knew her remembered someone building an ordinary life, filled with the routines and responsibilities that often go unnoticed until they are suddenly gone. Gregory Hightower shared that life with her, and from the outside, their home appeared much like countless others across suburban Texas. But appearances rarely reveal the full story. Behind closed doors, investigators would later examine the dynamics of their relationship in an effort to understand what led to the fatal events of September 22nd, 2022. While many details of the couple's private life have never been made public, the heartbreaking outcome serves as a reminder that the most devastating conflicts often unfold far from public view, hidden behind familiar walls and everyday smiles. What do you think makes it so difficult for outsiders to recognize when a family is quietly falling apart? As investigators retraced the final days before the shooting, they searched for warning signs that might explain how the tragedy unfolded. Publicly available records, however, reveal very little about the private struggles inside the Hightower home. There is no verified evidence detailing a prolonged pattern of abuse, specific threats, or escalating confrontations before the killings, making it impossible to accurately reconstruct the emotional path that led to that morning. What is known is that many domestic homicide cases can involve tensions hidden from friends, neighbors, and even close relatives until it is too late. In Takara's case, much of what happened behind closed doors remains known only to those who were inside that house. The silence surrounding those final moments has become one of the most haunting aspects of the case, leaving investigators, loved ones, and the public with questions that may never be fully answered. The violence reached its devastating conclusion on September 22, 2022, inside the family's humble Texas home. According to investigators, Takara Glenn Hightower was fatally shot by her husband, Gregory Hightower. After killing Takara, Gregory turned the firearm on himself, dying from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Deputies responding to the emergency call entered a scene marked by irreversible loss rather than an active threat. Authorities later concluded that the evidence was consistent with a murder-suicide, bringing the criminal investigation to a close even as countless emotional questions remained unanswered. There was no dramatic chase, no last-minute rescue, and no opportunity for justice to unfold in a courtroom. Instead, the tragedy ended almost as quickly as it began, leaving behind grieving children, devastated relatives, and a community struggling to comprehend how an ordinary home became the setting for such profound heartbreak. With the suspected gunman also deceased, investigators shifted their focus from finding a killer to reconstructing the final moments inside the home. Crime scene technicians documented every room, collected forensic evidence, examined the firearm, and analyzed physical evidence to determine the sequence of events. Investigators also reviewed 911 records and interviewed relatives, neighbors, and anyone who might help establish a timeline. Based on the evidence, authorities concluded that Takara Glenn Hightower had been killed by Gregory Hightower before he died by suicide. Because the only identified suspect was no longer alive, there was no criminal prosecution or traditional cover-up to unravel. Even so, the investigation did not erase the questions left behind. In the years that followed, Takara's family pursued civil legal action, seeking answers and accountability they believed had not been fully addressed. For them, the case may have been officially closed, but the search for understanding was far from over. Unlike many true crime cases, Takara Glenn Hightower's story never reached a criminal courtroom. Because investigators concluded that Gregory Hightower killed Takara before taking his own life, there was no defendant to arrest, charge, or prosecute. The criminal investigation ended with the official finding of a murder-suicide, closing the case from a legal standpoint. Yet the legal journey did not end there. In the years that followed, Takara's family and her estate pursued civil litigation, seeking accountability through the courts for matters related to the circumstances surrounding her death. Unlike a criminal trial, a civil case is not about determining guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, but about resolving legal claims and, where appropriate, awarding damages. For Takara's loved ones, however, no court filing or legal outcome could restore what had been taken. Justice, in its deepest sense, remained painfully out of reach. In the aftermath of the tragedy, The deepest wounds were carried not by investigators or attorneys, but by the family Takara Glenn Hightower left behind. Her loved ones were forced to grieve a daughter, a relative, and a mother whose life ended far too soon, while the couple's children faced the unimaginable reality of losing both parents in a single day. Their pain became a stark reminder that the true victims of domestic violence extend far beyond those at the center of the crime. Friends and community members mourned a life cut short and reflected on how little they had known about the struggles hidden behind closed doors. As the news faded from headlines, the emotional consequences endured. Birthdays, holidays, and ordinary family milestones would forever be marked by absence, leaving a silence that no legal proceeding or passage of time could ever truly fill. Some crime scenes fade from memory as evidence is boxed away and official files are marked closed. But others leave questions that linger long after the investigators have gone home. The death of Takara Glenn Hightower is one of those cases. It stands as a heartbreaking reminder that the greatest dangers are sometimes hidden behind the walls of an ordinary home, where pain can remain invisible until it erupts into irreversible tragedy. While the investigation concluded that Takara was killed by her husband before he died by suicide, the emotional impact continues to echo through the lives of the children, relatives, and friends she left behind. No verdict could undo the loss, and no explanation could fully answer why a family's future ended in a single morning. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, subscribe to Crime Vault, and turn on notifications so you never miss another true crime documentary. Your support helps keep these stories alive and encourages important conversations about violence, prevention, and the lives behind the headlines. What do you think families, friends, and communities can do to better recognize and respond to warning signs before a domestic violence tragedy occurs?